The March fog had settled over London like a grey shroud when Inspector Lestrade arrived at Baker Street, carrying a small evidence bag containing 5 ancient coins and a perplexing mystery that would test even Sherlock Holmes's formidable powers of deduction. Holmes, who had been conducting experiments on the chemical composition of various metals, prophetically appropriate given what was to come, set aside his work immediately upon seeing Lestrade's troubled expression and the unusual evidence he carried. "Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson," Lestrade began, settling into his usual chair with visible agitation. "3 days ago, a wealthy antiquarian collector named Sir Marcus Ashford was found dead in his study under circumstances that appear to be murder disguised as natural causes. Beside his body, arranged in a precise pattern, were these 5 coins, ancient Roman currency, extremely valuable. The arrangement itself appears to be some kind of message or puzzle, but neither I nor anyone at Scotland Yard can decipher its meaning. Before I continue with this most intricate case, please subscribe to Detective Sherlock if you haven't already. Your support helps us bring these mysteries to life. Like this video, hit the notification bell, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Now, let us proceed with the mysterious puzzle of the 5 coins. Holmes took the evidence bag and carefully emptied its contents onto his desk. 5 coins gleamed in the lamplight, each distinctly different in size, design, and apparent age. He examined them with his magnifying lens, occasionally making small sounds of interest as he studied particular details. Roman coins, yes, but from different periods and emperors, Holmes observed. This first coin bears the image of Augustus Caesar, 1st century AD. The second shows Nero, mid-1st century. The third depicts Vespasian, late 1st century. The fourth shows Trajan, early 2nd century. And this 5th coin is Marcus Aurelius, mid-2nd century. Lestrade, you said they were arranged in a specific pattern beside the body? Yes, in a perfect pentagon formation, each coin equidistant from the others, with Sir Marcus's right hand positioned as if pointing towards the Augustus coin, Lestrade explained, producing a photograph showing the crime scene. The pattern was too deliberate to be random. Someone arranged these coins intentionally, either Sir Marcus himself before dying, or his killer afterward. Holmes studied the photograph intently. Tell me everything about Sir Marcus Ashford's death. What did the physician conclude? Dr. Pemberton, who examined the body, initially ruled it natural causes, heart failure. Sir Marcus was 68 years old, known to have a weak heart. But his family insisted something was wrong. They claimed he'd been in excellent spirits that day, had shown no signs of distress, and was in the middle of cataloguing a new acquisition of Roman artifacts when he supposedly suffered this fatal attack. Most significantly, his study door was locked from the inside. Windows were secured. No signs of forced entry. Yet those 5 coins were arranged beside him in that peculiar pattern. A locked room mystery combined with a cryptographic puzzle, Holmes said with evident satisfaction. Excellent. Watson, this promises to be most instructive. Lestrade, I shall need to examine Sir Marcus's study, interview his family and associates, and research his recent activities, particularly any acquisitions of Roman coins or artifacts. That afternoon found us at Sir Marcus Ashford's substantial townhouse in Belgravia. The residents spoke of wealth and refined taste, walls lined with museum-quality antiquities, glass cases displaying ancient coins, pottery, and jewelry, shelves heavy with scholarly texts on Roman history and numismatics. Sir Marcus's study, where his body had been found, remained sealed pending Holmes's investigation. The family received us in the drawing room. Lady Victoria Ashford, Sir Marcus's widow, a composed woman of perhaps 60 years. Their son, Richard Ashford, a man of 35 who managed the family's shipping business. Their daughter, Caroline Ashford Morrison, perhaps 30, married to a barrister, and Sir Marcus's younger brother, Professor Edmund Ashford, a classical scholar at Cambridge. Holmes questioned each family member methodically. Lady Victoria described her husband as a passionate collector who had spent decades assembling one of Britain's finest private collections of Roman antiquities. He'd been particularly excited in recent weeks about acquiring a complete set of imperial denarii, silver coins representing each emperor from Augustus through Marcus Aurelius. He said the collection would crown his life's work, Lady Victoria explained, her voice steady despite evident grief. He'd spent 30 years searching for particular specimens in good condition. 3 weeks ago, he finally acquired the last coins he needed to complete the set. He was cataloguing them when he died. These 5 coins found beside his body, were they part of this newly completed collection? Holmes asked. Yes, they were among the most valuable pieces. The Augustus coin alone is worth over £1,000. Marcus kept them in his study safe, only bringing them out for research and cataloguing. Richard Ashford added important details. My father had been receiving threatening letters recently. Nothing specific, just vague warnings about debts being collected and old sins coming due. We reported them to the police, but father dismissed them as pranks from jealous rival collectors. He had many competitors in the antiquities trade, some of whom resented his success. Do you still have these letters? Holmes asked sharply. Father destroyed most of them, but I saved one that arrived just 2 days before his death. Richard produced an envelope containing a single sheet of paper with a message composed of words cut from newspapers and pasted together. The coin of judgment will be paid. Your collection is cursed. 5 emperors demand their price. Holmes examined the letter minutely, studying the paper, the paste used, the selection and arrangement of words. Fascinating. This reference to 5 emperors seems directly connected to the 5 coins found beside the body. Professor Ashford, as a classical scholar, do you see any historical significance in these particular 5 emperors? Augustus, Nero, Vespasian, Trajan, and Marcus Aurelius. Professor Edmund Ashford, a scholarly man with the distracted air of an academic, considered the question. They represent different aspects of Roman imperial power, certainly. Augustus established the Principate, creating the imperial system. Nero is infamous for tyranny and persecution of Christians. Vespasian restored stability after civil war. Trajan expanded the empire to its greatest extent. Marcus Aurelius is remembered as the philosopher emperor, but I see no obvious pattern connecting them beyond their chronological sequence. Yet someone thought the pattern significant enough to arrange their coins beside a dead man, Holmes murmured. May I examine Sir Marcus's study now? The study was a scholar's sanctuary. Floor-to-ceiling bookcases, a massive oak desk covered with reference materials, and most significantly, glass-fronted cabinets displaying hundreds of ancient coins organized by period and ruler. The safe stood open in one corner, its combination lock undamaged. Holmes examined every surface with meticulous care. He studied the spot where Sir Marcus's body had been found, the position of furniture, the arrangement of objects on the desk. He examined the safe, testing its mechanism and studying the interior. He checked the windows, all secure, locked from inside. He examined the study door and its lock. No signs of tampering. A perfect locked room, I observed. If this was murder, the killer left no trace of their entry or exit. Or left traces so subtle they escape casual observation, Holmes replied. He was examining the coins in the display cases now, occasionally removing one to study under his lens. Watson, observe this carefully. Sir Marcus's collection contains multiple examples of coins from each emperor, yet the 5 coins arranged beside his body were not randomly selected. They're the finest specimens, the ones in the best condition, the most historically significant examples, suggesting whoever arranged them had knowledge of numismatics, I asked. Precisely. Either Sir Marcus himself, who obviously possessed such knowledge, or someone else with expertise in Roman coinage. This eliminates casual thieves or opportunistic killers and points towards someone within Sir Marcus's own circle, family, colleagues, rival collectors. Holmes spent hours examining the study, taking measurements, making notes, occasionally requesting items be brought for comparison. Finally, he announced he needed to research Roman history and numismatics more thoroughly before proceeding. Back at Baker Street, Holmes buried himself in reference works on Roman imperial history, occasionally making exclamations of interest or puzzlement. I left him to his research and retired early, knowing his methods required long periods of solitary concentration. The following morning, I found Holmes still at his books, surrounded by notes and sketches. Watson, I believe I've identified the pattern, though its significance remains unclear. Listen to this. Each of those 5 emperors died under unusual or significant circumstances. Augustus died peacefully after a long reign, succeeded by his chosen heir. Nero committed suicide to escape execution. Vespasian died of natural causes, but reportedly joked about becoming a god as he expired. Trajan died during military campaign. Marcus Aurelius died of plague, or possibly poison. Historians debate the cause. Deaths, I said. The pattern is about how they died. Exactly, and consider the anonymous letter's phrasing. The coin of judgment will be paid. In Roman tradition, a coin was placed on the deceased's eyes or tongue as payment for Charon, the ferryman who transported souls across the river Styx to the afterlife. These 5 coins arranged beside Sir Marcus may represent a symbolic payment or judgment related to death. But whose judgment, and for what crime? Those are the questions we must answer. I need to investigate Sir Marcus's past more thoroughly, particularly his acquisition practices. Many ancient artifacts are obtained through questionable means: tomb robbing, illegal excavations, stolen collections. Perhaps Sir Marcus's old sins mentioned in the letter relate to unethical acquisitions. Holmes spent the next 2 days conducting exhaustive research into Sir Marcus Ashford's collecting history. He interviewed other antiquarians, examined auction records, investigated the provenance of various items in Sir Marcus's collection. What emerged was a troubling picture. Sir Marcus was a brilliant collector, but not always scrupulous about how he acquired items, Holmes reported. I found evidence of at least 3 occasions when he purchased artifacts that were almost certainly stolen from archaeological sites or smuggled out of Italy illegally. He also had a reputation for outbidding rivals through questionable tactics, spreading false information about items' authenticity, pressuring auction houses, even allegedly bribing experts to misattribute pieces. So he had enemies, I observed. Many enemies, and some with strong motivations for revenge. But which enemy would kill him in such an elaborate manner, leaving behind an encrypted message using extremely valuable coins? Holmes's breakthrough came from an unexpected source. While researching the provenance of Sir Marcus's coin collection, he discovered that the 5 specific coins arranged beside the body had an unusual shared history. All 5 had been purchased from the same source, an Italian dealer named Giuseppe Romano, who had died mysteriously 5 years earlier in Rome. Romano's death was ruled accidental. He fell from scaffolding while examining an excavation site, Holmes explained. But his family claimed he'd been murdered, that he'd discovered evidence of a criminal conspiracy involving stolen artifacts and was killed to silence him. The Italian authorities investigated but found insufficient evidence. The case was closed. You think Sir Marcus was involved in whatever conspiracy Romano discovered? I think it's highly probable. And I think someone connected to Romano is now exacting revenge. Watson, we must travel to Italy. The answers to this mystery lie in Rome. Our journey to Rome took 3 days. Upon arrival, Holmes immediately sought out the Romano family. Giuseppe Romano's widow, Maria, and his son, Alberto, received us with wary hospitality once Holmes explained our investigation. My father was murdered, Alberto said bitterly. I've always known it, though I could never prove it. He'd discovered that several prominent collectors, including your Sir Marcus Ashford, were purchasing artifacts stolen from restricted archaeological sites. Valuable pieces were being smuggled out of Italy, robbing our nation of its heritage. Father was preparing to expose the entire conspiracy when he died. Did he keep records of his findings? Holmes asked. He kept detailed ledgers documenting every transaction, but after his death, those ledgers disappeared. Someone broke into our home and stole them, along with his correspondence and research notes. We had nothing to take to the authorities. Holmes questioned the Romanos extensively about Giuseppe's business practices, his clients, his final days. A picture emerged of a dealer who had initially participated in the illegal antiquities trade, but had become increasingly troubled by the scale of theft and destruction involved. He'd begun documenting the conspiracy, intending to provide evidence to Italian authorities. Okay, your father was a courageous man, Holmes said, and I believe his death is directly connected to Sir Marcus Ashford's murder. Someone is exacting revenge for Giuseppe Romano's death, using the very coins that were at the center of the conspiracy. We spent several more days in Rome, investigating the illegal antiquities network. Holmes interviewed archaeologists, museum curators, police officials, and other dealers. He gradually pieced together a complex picture of systematic theft spanning decades, involving corrupted site managers, bribed officials, and unscrupulous collectors. The 5 coins arranged beside Sir Marcus's body had been among the most significant stolen items. Each had been illegally removed from different archaeological sites and sold through Romano's dealing operation. Romano had documented their theft and intended to use them as evidence in his exposure of the conspiracy. Someone killed Romano to prevent that exposure, Holmes concluded. And now, years later, that same person, or an associate, has killed Sir Marcus Ashford, using those specific coins as both weapon and message. The coins represent guilt, judgment, and payment for crimes committed. But who is the killer? I asked. And how did they commit murder in a locked study, leaving no trace? To answer that, we must return to London and re-examine the physical evidence with new understanding. Back in England, Holmes requested permission to conduct additional forensic tests on Sir Marcus's body, which had been preserved pending the investigation. The family physician, Dr. Pemberton, had ruled heart failure, but Holmes suspected something more sinister. Dr. Pemberton, I want to test for specific poisons that can simulate heart attack symptoms, Holmes explained, particularly digitalis, extracted from foxglove plants. In carefully measured doses, digitalis is used medicinally to treat heart conditions, but in excessive doses, it causes fatal cardiac arrest that can be difficult to distinguish from natural heart failure. The tests were conducted, and Holmes's suspicions were confirmed. Sir Marcus's tissues showed elevated levels of digitalis, far more than any therapeutic dose would produce. He'd been poisoned, deliberately given a fatal dose of a substance his own physician had prescribed for his heart condition. The killer had access to Sir Marcus's medication, Holmes said. Someone who knew he took digitalis regularly, who could tamper with his pills or prepare an overdose in some other form. This points clearly towards someone in his household or immediate circle. Holmes assembled everyone connected to Sir Marcus for a final meeting at the Ashford townhouse. The family, Professor Edmund Ashford, Dr. Pemberton, and several of Sir Marcus's associates in the antiquities trade were all present. Ladies and gentlemen, Holmes began, Sir Marcus Ashford was murdered through deliberate digitalis poisoning. The killer arranged 5 specific Roman coins beside his body as both confession and indictment, a message about past crimes and present judgment. Those 5 coins were stolen from Italian archaeological sites and sold illegally through Giuseppe Romano's dealing operation. Romano died 5 years ago trying to expose this criminal conspiracy. Now someone has exacted revenge against Sir Marcus for his role in that conspiracy and in Romano's death. Holmes paused, his grey eyes scanning the assembled faces. The killer is someone with detailed knowledge of Roman numismatics, access to Sir Marcus's medication, ability to enter his study without suspicion, and a personal connection to Giuseppe Romano's case. Only one person in this room fits all those criteria. Every eye turned as Holmes pointed dramatically at Professor Edmund Ashford. Professor, you murdered your brother. Room erupted in shocked denials and protests. Professor Ashford's face went pale, but he maintained his composure. That's absurd. What possible motive would I have? Marcus was my brother. Your motive was complex. Part moral conviction, part personal grievance, and part revenge on behalf of Giuseppe Romano, Holmes explained. You are a classical scholar who has spent your life studying and honoring Roman civilization. You were disgusted by your brother's unethical acquisition practices, by his willingness to purchase stolen artifacts and destroy archaeological sites for personal gain. But you couldn't act against him while Romano was alive and documenting the conspiracy. You needed Romano's evidence to remain hidden. "You're mad," Edmund protested, but his voice lacked conviction. "So you murdered Giuseppe Romano 5 years ago," Holmes continued relentlessly. "You were in Rome on academic research at the time. I verified your presence there when Romano died. You pushed him from that scaffolding, then stole his research and ledgers to prevent the conspiracy's exposure. You couldn't risk your own involvement being revealed, or your brother being prosecuted, or your family's reputation destroyed. But over the following years, guilt consumed you. You watched your brother continue his unethical practices, saw him complete his collection of imperial coins, including those same 5 coins that were central to the conspiracy. You decided to become judge, jury, and executioner. You would kill your brother and leave a message that would reveal his crimes to anyone with knowledge to decode it." Holmes gestured toward the 5 coins, now displayed on a table. These coins were arranged in a pentagon, with Sir Marcus's hand pointing toward the Augustus coin. That configuration was your confession and your judgment. In Roman symbology, Augustus represented justice and legitimate authority. By pointing Sir Marcus toward Augustus, while surrounded by coins representing theft and corruption, you were making a statement. Judgment has been rendered. "The murder method was clever," Holmes continued. "You had regular access to your brother's study as a trusted family member and fellow scholar. You knew his daily routine, knew he took digitalis for his heart condition. Over several days, you gradually increased the dosage in his medication until the accumulation became fatal. On the day of his death, you visited him in his study. Nothing suspicious about a brother stopping by. You brought those 5 specific coins, claiming you wanted to discuss their historical significance. When the poison took effect and Sir Marcus collapsed, you arranged the coins in their symbolic pattern, then left, locking the door behind you with the key Sir Marcus had given you for accessing his study when he wasn't present. Professor Ashford had gone from pale to grey, his hands trembling. The circumstantial evidence was damning, but Holmes had one more revelation. "You made one crucial error, Professor. In your arrogance as a scholar, you couldn't resist leaving a more complex message, one that would only be understood by someone with your level of classical knowledge. The anonymous letters you sent referred to 5 emperors demanding their price. You researched each emperor's death and selected coins representing different forms of mortality: natural death, suicide, disease, war, and murder. You were creating a taxonomy of death while simultaneously confessing your own crimes. Augustus died peacefully, like Giuseppe Romano should have. Nero committed suicide, as you believed Sir Marcus should do. Vespasian died naturally, the cover story for your brother's murder. Trajan died in war, the conflict between your moral convictions and family loyalty. Marcus Aurelius possibly died by poison, exactly how you killed your brother. The pattern was your elaborate confession, disguised as mystery. The professor's resistance crumbled. "He destroyed so much," he whispered. "Not just artifacts, but entire excavations. Historical knowledge that could never be recovered. And Giuseppe Romano, he was trying to stop the destruction. I couldn't let that exposure happen. Couldn't let our family's name be dragged through scandal. But afterward, the guilt. I couldn't live with what I'd done." Marcus continued his collecting, celebrating his complete imperial set, never acknowledging the theft and murder it represented. I had to stop him. I had to judge him. The confession that followed was complete and detailed. Professor Ashford had indeed murdered Giuseppe Romano to prevent exposure of the Antiquities conspiracy. He'd stolen Romano's research and evidence, intending to protect his brother and preserve family honor. But the guilt had festered, transforming from self-preservation into moral condemnation of Sir Marcus's continuing unethical practices. That 5 coins were my confession and my judgment, Edmund explained, as constables prepared to take him away. Each represented a different aspect of guilt: theft from Augustus, tyranny like Nero, dishonor before Vespasian, aggression like Trajan, and the philosopher Marcus Aurelius's wisdom corrupted. I wanted someone, eventually, to understand what the arrangement meant. I wanted the truth preserved, even if I couldn't bear to confess it directly. The trial of Professor Edmund Ashford was one of the most sensational in Victorian legal history. He was convicted of murdering both Giuseppe Romano and Sir Marcus Ashford, sentenced to death by hanging. The sentence was later commuted to life imprisonment, partly because of his confession and cooperation in exposing the broader Antiquities conspiracy. Holmes's investigation led to a major international effort to combat illegal antiquities trafficking. The Romano family's honor was restored, and many stolen artifacts were eventually returned to Italian museums. Sir Marcus Ashford's collection was confiscated, items identified as stolen being repatriated to their countries of origin. The puzzle of the 5 coins was both simple and complex, Holmes reflected one evening as we discussed the case. Simple in its physical arrangement, 5 objects in a geometric pattern. Complex in its layered meanings: confession, judgment, taxonomy of death, moral condemnation, personal guilt, all encoded in a single symbolic display. Edmund Ashford was brilliant, but ultimately destroyed by his own moral contradictions, I observed. He murdered to protect his family's honor, then murdered again because he couldn't live with that protection. He represents a particularly tragic form of criminal, the one who commits crime in service of principle, but can't reconcile the contradiction between action and belief, Holmes said thoughtfully. He genuinely believed the Antiquities conspiracy was wrong, believed his brother should be held accountable, but his method of accountability, murder, was itself a greater wrong that he couldn't escape. Could the case have been solved without your journey to Rome? I asked. Possibly not, The key insight was understanding that the 5 coins weren't random objects, but specifically chosen items connected to past crimes. That connection only became apparent through researching their provenance and discovering Giuseppe Romano's role. Without understanding Romano's murder, Sir Marcus's death remained inexplicable. The case demonstrated several of Holmes's particular strengths: his willingness to pursue investigations across international boundaries, his ability to decode symbolic messages, and his understanding that motives often involve complex psychological conflicts rather than simple greed or hatred. The 5 coins themselves were eventually donated to the British Museum, where they're displayed with full documentation of their theft, illegal trafficking, and role in 2 murders. They serve as a cautionary tale about the hidden costs of collecting antiquities without proper ethical safeguards. Years later, I encountered Lady Victoria Ashford at a charitable event. She approached me with quiet dignity. "Dr. Watson, I wanted to thank you and Mr. Holmes for exposing the truth about Marcus's death, even though that truth was painful. Edmund's actions were unforgivable, but I understand now that Marcus's own unethical practices created the conditions for tragedy. I've established a foundation supporting legal archaeological work and combating antiquities trafficking. Perhaps some good can come from this terrible affair." The case of the puzzle of the 5 coins entered my notes as one of Holmes's most intellectually complex investigations. It required expertise in numismatics, Roman history, toxicology, and criminal psychology. It demonstrated that physical evidence, however small or seemingly insignificant, can contain encoded messages that reveal entire criminal narratives when properly decoded. The case also illustrated important ethical questions about cultural heritage, the responsibilities of collectors, and the human costs of unethical acquisition practices. Every artifact has a history, and sometimes that history includes theft, deception, and violence. Holmes's genius lay in recognizing that the 5 coins were not merely evidence, but a language, a sophisticated symbolic system encoding confession, judgment, and moral condemnation. By learning to read that language, he could decode not just what happened, but why it happened, and who was responsible. The puzzle was ultimately about guilt, how it manifests, how it consumes, how it drives people to elaborate symbolic expressions when direct confession is impossible. Professor Edmund Ashford couldn't simply confess to his crimes, but he couldn't keep silent either. So he created a puzzle that would eventually reveal the truth, while temporarily preserving his reputation and protecting his family.